All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the Transitional Champion podcast. I, of course, am Dirt, the co-host on this crazy ride, and joined with me today, just passed, Nathan Kennedy. Nathan, what's going on?
I don't know what he was going to say on that, but hey, I'm out of my coma. I'm back, ladies and gents.
Yeah, so what happened last week? Where were you?
All right. You know how sometimes you set your alarm, but it ends up being PM instead of AM? That was the case. And I was really tired. And I woke up. I was like, I missed the show. Because I had like you had sent me the link. You're like, you awake? I was like, oh man. So apologies.
I thought there was a fair chance that you may have been murdered by the dogs.
No. Ed Leslie showed up at my house, dropped off the package, beat me up.
Oh, that seems fair.
Put me in a coma.
Wait, he gave you his package?
No, he gave me a care package.
He gave you a care package?
Yeah. He was like, hey, brother. Because for whatever reason, all these guys just say brother all the time. He's like, yeah, I caught wind of your podcast, and I just I actually want to thank you. I was like, for what? I'm about ready to like call the cops. And he was like, well,
you're going to call the cops on Ed Leslie being at your house.
Yeah. He was like, you guys keep talking about me on the podcast. And I know you're not a big fan of me, but I'm in that Champions mobile game now. And I think I might be in the Hall of Fame. So thank you for throwing my name out there. And he gave me this box, and it had all these Brutus Beefcake figures in it.
So what are all those figures from?
It looks like, well, we got our classic LJN. I guess he couldn't spring for the Hasbro one, which I had as a kid, I believe. We got a Mattel version, Jakks Pacific, and I guess another Mattel. And he even bothered to throw in an autographed picture of Zodiac from WCW. Wow. It doesn't say like Ed Leslie or anything. It just says Zodiac. He signed it Zodiac. Yeah.
Do you wonder if maybe he is the Zodiac killer that they've been searching for?
You know what? I should have called the cops. But now he knows where I live. So.
You would have made the Hall of Fame induction ceremony a lot more interesting if they had to bail out Ed Leslie on serial killer charges before he could do his speech. I mean, think of how much value that would have brought to the Hall of Fame.
It's not confirmed. It's all speculation.
It's confirmed.
Speculation that he's going.
This show has more pull than you can imagine in the wrestling world. We got Ed Leslie into the Hall of Fame. Brutus the Barber Beefcake owes his induction in this year's Hall of Fame to us when it's eventually announced.
Yeah.
But the speculation just keeps on rolling. Like seriously, like we talked about it as a joke on this show, and within 2 weeks, it's everywhere on the internet. Ed Leslie is going to the Hall of Fame.
What have we done?
You know what?
You said the show was reaching out to places in other countries. Maybe there's like collusion, right?
We did get a message from a viewer in the former Soviet Union, aka Russia. Mm-hmm. It's entirely possible there's some sort of Russian collusion going on with the WWE Hall of Fame. We don't know. What we need is a 2-year investigation for, let's say, I don't know, $500 million to see if maybe not we can kind of find something or not find something or not prove or just sit around for 2 years.
Yeah, let's not get into that. There's not going to be a celebrity in the Hall of Fame this year. Usually they have one. They haven't announced one. And we're like next week is the go home to Mania.
I thought they did. I thought they announced, didn't they?
Not that I know of. I thought it was just DX, Honky Tonk Man, Harlem Heat. And aren't those the only three?
All right, let me see here. New window. WWE Hall of Fame 20. Whoops, not 2109. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I can't imagine where the world will be at 2109.
Probably still watching 3 hours of Raw.
We'll be long gone. There'll be a robot Vince still running thing. It'll be like Futurama.
They announced the Warrior Award.
Oh yeah.
Which I thought was but it's a longtime WWE employee Sue Atchison to receive Warrior Award at the 2019 Hall of Fame.
There's no celebrity. That's weird, right? So maybe
Tori Wilson is the celebrity. Maybe.
No. Bob Barker, come on, make it happen.
Jimmy and Bill Neidhart.
If you guys are really, the Hart Foundation was announced.
Yeah, they got announced this week. Yep.
If you guys are going to put someone in there, Bob Barker, come on. We don't know how much long he has left. How much longer he has left.
Excuse me. All right. Well, yeah.
Let's break down some Raw and some Smackdown because we're inching.
This is Well, I'm trying to delay
to Mania.
The pain as much as possible by talking about.
Did you bring your liquor this time around?
Right now I'm drinking my coffee.
Okay.
Because I got to have my coffee because I also did wake up not too long ago.
All right.
But then once the coffee runs out, we'll see where we're at in the show, and we may head back to the whiskey. I'm not sure.
I know you've been struggling with insomnia lately. How has Raw not cured that yet?
I think it's because of the unbridled rage and anger that comes out while I'm watching Monday Night Raw.
Right on.
Okay, so here's the thing, though. I do have to make a confession. I know that part of the whole experiment of this show is to sit and watch the 3 hours of Raw and the 2 hours of SmackDown every week to make the notes to go through the show. But this week, I had to fake it. I'm doing the 7th grade sneak, as I call it. I watched Raw and SmackDown both on Hulu in the edited versions.
Well, I think SmackDown's in full, but Raw you get the cut in half.
Yeah, maybe when they cut out the commercials on SmackDown, it makes only 90 minutes.
Yeah,
which shows you that's a whole half hour of commercials in a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did watch the Hulu version of Raw, and I'm borrowing someone else's notes. So basically, I've got someone else's notes because they watched the whole thing.
Yeah, I completely understand.
This is just one of those weeks.
You had a good run.
I did as much as I could, but it just finally got to and also part of it. I'm at the point now because I watched them both yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So I waited to see what happened on Monday, to see what happened on Tuesday, to then decide if I was going to watch 5 hours or 3 hours. And listening to all the stuff coming through from the two shows, I am now actively dreading WrestleMania 35.
I'm actually quite the opposite. I think when you look at the card, it looks pretty decent. And there's at least probably 3 or 4 matches on there. And I'm like, all right.
Well, but see, for me, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking the same thing. There's probably about 3 or 4 matches I'm looking forward to in a 7-hour show. Because it's going to have 2 hours, 2.5 hours of pre-show. And then the actual show is going to be like 4 hours, 4.5 hours, 5 hours.
It starts at 7 Eastern and will probably go till about 11:30, I would think.
But they're going to do like 2 hours of a live pre-show before that. Maybe even 3, 2.5, somewhere in there. And at one point there was even talk, and I don't know if that's still going on, but there was talk of part of it airing on USA, part of it airing on YouTube, and then going into the show on the network.
I could see that.
Which, oh my gosh.
Because that's how you got to get the subscribers, man.
Right. That's how you get the people to pay the $59.99 for the pay-per-view.
Oh, no.
Yeah, can you imagine this year if you were paying $60, $70 to watch the show?
Not at all. Not at all.
So, yeah. So, like I said, I'm pulling the 7th grade sneak. Got the cliff notes and using someone else's homework, and we're gonna run through the show here. But this, And the thing is, like, I didn't watch Major League Wrestling either. I didn't watch ROH because I'm honestly so overfed on wrestling.
Yeah.
That it's like, I don't even like, I kind of want to go see a local live event maybe, but like, I don't want to look at the screen and watch anything else, even if it's good.
It
like,
does wear you down. If you just consume too much, it's just exactly that, too much.
So,
There's only so many times you can see a collar and elbow and Irish whips and stuff. All right, yeah, Monday Night Raw.
Oh, here we go. All right. Also, Vince. Here's a question. Vince, in the last 2 years, Vince's face has gotten really puffy.
Yeah, he's aged rapidly. It's like all that. Well, he only sleeps like 3 hours a night.
Yeah, well, I know how that feels. But
let that be a lesson to you. You do that for the next, let's say, 40 years. You look like him too.
But here's the thing. It's like his face structure is different. And it's not just like, old people get wrinkled and sometimes their face kind of melts a little bit. Like, it's not that. Like, his face looks, it looks like he's gotten some sort of food poisoning every day of his life for the last 2 years. Like, I don't know how, like, he got collagen lip injections or something. I don't know what happened. He got some bad Botox. He went for the cheaper Botox or something. Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, that, and then, all the steroid abuse he did in the 80s, maybe that's kind of like playing its part on him now. To me, he's starting to look more and more like his dad. Maybe that is true. That is true. All right. So Monday Night Raw. Okay, so Monday Night Raw kicked off. So again, I watched the Hulu version, and I thought maybe I missed something. So I went back and checked, and what I saw in the Hulu version was apparently what they broadcast, which made absolutely no sense as the show started. So Ronda Rousey comes out. She gets booed. The crowd is chanting against her. We want Becky. She talked about how the women would be the main event at WrestleMania for the first time ever. And all I have to say is you're welcome. And she throws down the microphone. She goes to leave. And then she stops and goes back and she goes, I actually have something else to say. She says, I'm going to make both Becky Lynch and Charlotte tap out at the same time. And she said, oh, and I have one more thing to say. And that is, I have to do this beat the clock challenge, and I don't know what it is, but it sounds like another BS wrestling thing that you guys do, and throws down the microphone, and they start playing the music for Charlotte and Becky Lynch and the Riot Squad to all come out. And I'm sitting there going, there's a beat the clock challenge? Yeah.
Like,
yeah. They,
why?
I don't. I mean, most cases when they've done it in the past, it's simply to name a number one contender. This has no point other than making the Riot Squad look worse and worse.
I mean,
than they already do. And
it's like I watched this beat the clock challenge, and I'm like, okay, so it's not.
Who benefited from that?
Yeah, it's not like a timed entry where the person who wins the challenge is like the third person in, so they have some sort of leg up, and it's not. It's not like like a gauntlet type thing. It's like these two are going to face off, and then you win, and then you face off against the other person. So someone was trying to win that spot. It's not. It's not to name a number one contender. It was just they did a beat the clock challenge
to see who is the superior women's wrestler going into WrestleMania.
Is it the point
main
of the
event
match at WrestleMania?
Main event. I don't know. None of that makes sense. I saw that, and because I read the results while I was at work, and then came home and watched it, and I'm like, what? And also too, you've buried the Riot Squad so much that if for whatever reason they decide in their heads, oh, we're gonna make someone out of that group a contender, why? What's believable about them now? Like, you've just basically made them jobbers. It would be like Jinder Mahal all over again. I don't understand the booking here.
Well, the difference was 3-man band was awesome. But the thing is, you could take someone from Riot Squad. Like I'm assuming Liv Morgan is the one that they're going to break out just because she's marketable. And what they'll do is they'll just have her turn on the other two and say, the two of you held me back.
Ugh.
And she'll do something where she beats off both the two of she destroys
There you go.
both the other two.
There you go.
At the same time in a handicap match.
It's not a belt, it's a championship.
Right. But it does not. And again, this goes back to, what was it, just at Fastlane where they had Ruby Riott facing Ronda?
Yes.
Which is why we're getting this mix of these 3 main eventers at WrestleMania against this 3-person squad again.
Yeah.
Even though none of these people have ever measured up in any way, shape, or form, have ever been any sort of legitimate threat, any sort of credible contender, we're just going to keep throwing them there because reasons.
I don't, and to think that they have so many people at their disposal on their rosters, why not just put other matches out there? It's not like you have to have these guys out here every week. If that's the best you can come up with, take a week off.
Especially because there are so many people you don't see every week.
Yeah, exactly.
I forgot Shelton Benjamin was even still employed by the company, and yet he's someone I wouldn't mind seeing every week.
Yeah.
If they did an R-Truth, Shelton Benjamin 6-month storyline back and forth between the two of them over the United States title, great. I would love that. But
I don't think they're capable of booking such a thing for 6 months anymore. Well, they can't even make it to build to their biggest show. Oh God.
But yeah, so still, again, why did we have this beat the clock challenge? Because they need it. So Ronda's like, I don't know what this beat the clock challenge is, but it sounds like another BS wrestling thing.
I hate
and I'm sitting there going, I think she's right. Like, I
mean, she's not wrong, but I'm tired of the idea that they're making her this character. Yeah, wrestling's fake. Did you know it's fake? Yes. Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. Maybe 6-year-old Billy doesn't, but thanks for ruining that for him.
By the way, Billy, don't ask Ronda about Santa Claus. Yeah. And the other thing was, the matches were not good.
Nope.
I mean, you're dealing with the Riot
were
Squad.
All like a minute and a half.
Yeah, it's like, so the first one. Well, the first one ended at 1:23, but they let the clock go for another 2 seconds because apparently they had practiced and gone for 1:25, and they got done a little early.
Gotcha.
So they let the clock go to 1:25, and then 1:25 was the time to beat. And it's like 1:25, like seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, in any other situation, if you would put the first one was Ronda Rousey versus Sarah Logan, okay, that should be short. But still, if this was on pay-per-view, it would have been like 4.5 minutes. It's 1:25. You had Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan. Again, that should be short, but if it was a regular match on a regular show, it would be 3, 4, 5 minutes long. Suddenly, out of nowhere, it's 1:25, 1:17. Just because it's a beat the clock challenge, so it's got to be fast.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I wasn't upset that these were short matches,
right? Because
again, I'm not a fan of the Riot Squad, but it's just like,
it served no purpose. It was just there. Next.
So anyway, Ronda Rousey first defeated Sarah Logan in 1:25. We had Charlotte Flair versus Ruby Riott. They ran the full time limit, and so then the referee cut off the match, and it did not continue. We had Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan. And Lynch, as she got into the ring to get started for her match, Charlotte kicked her in the face.
Yeah.
So Becky's working off this injury to start her match, but she still happens to win in 1:17. So Becky wins the Beat the Clock challenge, which gives her nothing. Yeah.
Great.
That was great.
Is there not anyone that's just like, hey, you know what? This is probably a bad idea. I think this sucks.
Again, I'm sure there were, but
how does
Vince
Vince not look at that and be like, yeah, you know what? I think this sucks. Let's do something else.
And this, again, I think is the problem with Triple H. Because I think Triple H is just in that position where Vince says, well, let's go ahead and do this. And Triple H is like, okay. Yeah. Instead of being like, Vince, this is dumb. Don't do this. You know, he needs someone there to butt heads with. And I don't think Triple H is doing that.
I wish I could just be a fly on the wall during those.
Well, especially the SmackDown meeting, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
All right. So we had the 2-on-1 handicap match. Finn Balor against Bobby Lashley and a mystery opponent, because it was supposed to be Lio Rush. But Lio Rush and Bobby Lashley come out, and Lio Rush says he's not medically cleared. And why is he not medically cleared?
Reasons.
Because what's his name? Bobby Big Muscles here beat the crap out of him last week because they broke up. Oh, but then they got back together again because they had broken up, because they had gotten back together again, because Bobby Big Muscles just keeps destroying him every other week.
I mean, that's how relationships work, right?
I get, like, is this supposed to be an abusive boyfriend storyline? Is that what we're watching?
I don't
work out here.
They're progressive, don't you know? They're doing shows in Saudi Arabia, the progressive country. Women are main event in WrestleMania. Let's talk about that really quick. Again, I'm tired of the idea that they think that they're the first wrestling company ever to have like an all women's pay-per-view and all this stuff. Because one, they're not, and two, like, yeah, it's cool, but at the same time, you don't have to hammer me over the head and let me know, oh, hey, you know, we're doing this. Like, it's a neat idea, sure.
Well, and I think the other problem is that the more they hammer the fact that it's like the first women's a main event at WrestleMania, the more you're sitting there going, but this is not the greatest rivalry of all time. This is not the greatest matchup of all time. You know, like, if you're going to do it, you should have had something much better put together than this.
Yes. And it all goes back to the build to all of these things. And we're going to see this a lot when we do watch WrestleMania. They remember all the memorable things that have happened in WrestleMania's past were memorable for a reason. It's not, you didn't have Gorilla or Jim Ross or Michael Cole back in the day sit there and be like, oh my God, what a moment. But the last 3, 4, maybe at this point 5 WrestleManias, because it started around 30, they have to hammer it home. Like, oh my God, what a moment.
Right.
It's like,
they have to manufacture a moment instead of picking something out from the show and running.
Exactly. Let that stuff speak for itself. You think when Edge jumped off and speared Jeff Hardy that they were like, did Jim Ross say, oh my God, what a WrestleMania moment? No, he didn't. He just called the match like he did. And it's like, holy shit, like, that sticks out and it's lasted forever. And now it's just, as you said, manufactured. They have to make these moments now instead of just letting them go out there and create one on their own. It's like, no, this is what we got to do because it's got to be a moment. Kevin Dunn, you got to sit there in the truck and cut 50 times while it happens. And did you see the video?
Yeah. I was just video talk about that. The video for the Dean Ambrose beatdown, and you see the cameraman's like doing squats and doing the zoom in and out. Yeah, that was great. That was hilarious. All right. Let's see. So Lio Rush, he talked about being beat up by Strowman last week as well, and so that's why he can't do it. So he said, he also said that Finn Balor was a broken down piece of garbage like Rob Gronkowski, who was the guy who jumped in with the woo woo. Oh no, Mojo. Yeah, Mojo Rawley and who is the woo woo guy? I can't think.
Zack Ryder.
Zack Ryder. Yeah. He jumped into their match at WrestleMania 2 years ago. I think it was.
No, it was the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. He hopped in to help Mojo out, and it was funny because the security guard lady actually thought like
he was a dude just jumping.
Yeah. So that was
okay. So apparently,
I hope he doesn't show up. And
apparently, Rob Gronkowski is cutting a deal with WWE, and he's going to be coming in and joining. Yeah. So
great.
I don't care, Philip. I'm in the middle of something. Oh my gosh. Anyway,
we're live, pal.
Yeah, this is. There's no mistakes when we're live, buddy. We're live is live. All right. So anyway, so Rob Gronkowski is apparently cutting a deal. He's going to be on the roster for WWE.
That sucks. I hate all of that.
They made some other reference to him at some other point. I forget. Someone else was talking and doing an interview, and they said something about Rob Gronkowski. He's like, "Oh yeah, well, I'm I would never say anything's a sure thing in wrestling, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him jump in the ring soon."
He's going to show up in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, probably. Fetch me the liquor, Emily. She's asleep. She can feel it. I hate all of that. That sucks. Because it's just going to be like, look at who we have, aren't we? Where's our Emmy?
All right, so someone in the chat here, do you think the wrestlers have control, if any, over their stories, or is it all the fault of the writers? It's 100% the writers.
I think some wrestlers have creative control. It depends. Like
I think some of the very top, like Kurt Angle, for instance, in his thing right now, where he's doing his retirement tour, he gets to pick his opponents.
Oh,
but he doesn't get to pick how the match ends and what other angles get woven into it, I guess is the way to say it. So for instance, the past like this week was all TNA reunion matches.
Yeah.
So it was Samoa Joe and AJ Styles. And he said, I want to wrestle these guys again. I wrestled them in TNA. We got along great. They're here now. I want to do matches with them. And they said, that's fine. You pick the guys. But then he has no say over what happened at Smackdown because that was a 2-minute match with a run-in. So that's just how it goes.
I know some guys do, especially when it comes to promos. They have creative freedom, but it depends on who you are. Like the Shield guys, I think mostly don't have to work from a script anymore. New Day doesn't really have to.
Well, they don't have a script a lot of times in the sense where they go out like it used to be. There was a time period right after, I guess towards the end of The Rock's first run when he was getting ready to leave to go do movies. And WWE switched from, they had all these guys who were great talkers in the Attitude Era, guys who could just go out there, they trained in the indies and whatever, they could just go out there, they could talk. All of those guys were, retiring, taking time off, leaving, whatever. And they had like the next batch of guys coming in. The next batch of guys coming in were all guys who had gone through the power plant, gone through Florida Championship, gone through Ohio Valley, and they weren't great talkers. They just had not done a lot of independent stuff. They just had not, really had gotten their work cutting promos in front of crowds on the fly. And so they used to script out every single word in someone's promo. So John Cena, for like 5-6 years, every promo he went out and did was written by a TV writer for him to say on TV. Everything he said, every word from top to bottom. For a long time, every guy was like this.
Yep.
Guys like Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, they were fine, to do their own thing. They would be given some notes, but they had enough experience. But any new guys coming up, absolutely not. And if someone, and a guy like Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero coming in, even though they had a lot of experience, they were new to the WWE product. So therefore, WWE was scripting out all their promos and doing all the stuff for them. And so it got to this point where guys just weren't learning how to do promos. Just nobody knew how to do it. So this happened for a long time, many, many years. And you can go back and you can watch these promos from 2007, 2010, 2012, where you can tell people are going out there and they're just following a script. This is something they memorized backstage word for word, and they're out there just spewing it back out. And over the last, I'd say 2-3 years, they've started to go back to where if they trust a guy, they will let him have a little more control over what he says, where they will say, you need to say this line, you need to hammer home this point, you need to talk about a feud with this guy, we need you to say this phrase at some point because this phrase is going to be, the thing that gets replayed in all the video packages. But other than that, they're allowed to kind of play for about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever, when they go out there and cut their promo. And we saw this play out in the absolute biggest way when Batista and Triple H did their back and forth, because that was 100% like just you two guys go out there and say whatever you're going to say and do whatever you want. And Batista,
give me what I want.
He said Batista was just like, I'm going to repeat the same thing over and over and just spit more every time I say it. And that was his whole idea, is I'm just going to spit like a crazy madman. And it played out like it did.
Yeah.
So you're starting to see a little more guys having a little more control over what they say in that sense. But as far as like going into the feuds and the storylines, you don't really have that much. There are, again, some of the top guys, like when Jericho came back, Jericho was the guy who said, you know what, I want to do something with Mustafa Ali. I want some sort of spotlight on him. That kid's great. He's going to go places. You need to do something more with him. And he was able to kind of push creative to start looking at Mustafa Ali as someone that they could groom and build up a little more and then bring over to the main roster. Wait.
It's just Ali now, by the way.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, it is. Well, and do you know why it's Ali?
I
mean, one WWE has the trend of dropping names. We know that.
I hate it, though.
But do you know why they went with dropping Mustafa and just calling him Ali as opposed to dropping Ali and just calling him Mustafa?
Because that Aladdin movie is going to come out and they'll think they'll confuse Mustafa with Mufasa or whatever. And
you're close. Not Aladdin, Lion King. Disney has the live action Lion King as part of their push for the Disney Plus network. And Mustafa is Simba's dad.
Okay, yeah. There we go.
And so they go, well, we don't want any sort of brand confusion. So
that's stupid.
You can't have a guy called Mustafa Ali because there's going to be a Mustafa in this big Lion King remake. So
send all hate mail about me not knowing anything about Disney films to dirt@popculturenetwork.com.
Wait, what? Why do they send it? Well, I guess I should just get all the hate mail, period.
Yeah, you should get all the hate mail.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Let's get back into this. Let's see. So they brought out Jinder Mahal.
Yeah.
Because obviously they got nothing for him to do. Came out with the Singh brothers, who were both still employed by WWE. No idea why. They had a match. It was not good. Finn Balor won.
So he's going to WrestleMania, Intercontinental Championship match.
Oh, right. So he gets a shot to win his title back from Bobby Big Muscles at WrestleMania.
Yep.
Because that's a match we're all looking forward to.
Yeah, it's a match that we've never seen before. It's
gonna
be great.
Do we need to see this match at all ever?
No.
So again, I'm looking at that match going into WrestleMania going, great. They're probably going to do that one as 25 minutes.
No.
And it's going to be 20 minutes too long.
I'm just curious now if they'll probably have Finn Balor do his demon entrance then.
You think so?
Well, probably, but it makes no sense because there's no like anger on Finn Balor's end because every week he just comes out and smiles.
Yeah, that's another thing that's weird. He's like now doing the John Cena gimmick from 5 years ago, where it's just he's always it doesn't matter how bad he got beat down or how bad he got screwed over. He just comes out and smiles. He's happy to be there. Big smiling baby face.
Yeah, they need to think about turning him heel at some point. Let's see what he can do with that.
All right, so they showed Elias at Times Square, the hobo drifter.
Yeah,
he said he's going to do the greatest performance ever at WrestleMania. He said that Times Square is normally dead that time of night, but all those people are there because they want to see Elias.
He's like that delusional guy on Facebook that like
thinks he's famous because he does live stream videos.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of doofuses who do a wrestling podcast.
Yep.
Yeah. So this random guy with a guitar shows up and tries to play, and Elias is like, "You can't play with me. How do I know you even have talent?" So the guy starts to sing and play, and Elias is just like, "No, go away." So the guy just kind of backs up out of frame, and that was it.
I wonder what this is leading to. I hope it's an interruption and duet with Bonnie Raitt.
Who's Joan Jett is going to be there to play Ronda Rousey's.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they're going to do something where Elias is going to be like out on the entryway or backstage, and he's trying to do something with Joan Jett, and she's going to grab a guitar and break it over his head.
I think that is very unlikely, but I think they'll get some other musical act to come. Probably a rapper.
I mean, they do because it is WrestleMania. They do a lot of big grand entrances for a lot of guys, and sometimes there are bands there that they don't announce ahead of time, and you're just like, oh, it's the people that did that dude's theme music. Huh.
Here's what they should do: they have Elias in the ring. He's like, all right, this is my time to whatever, and then Limp Bizkit shows up because it is WWE's favorite band. If you watch 19, that's what they say. It's their all-time favorite band, Limp Bizkit. I think they should show up and play. I guess they'd have to play Rollins, right? And then Undertaker shows up and he's Biker Taker again and beats up Elias. There we go. Done.
You want to book the Biker Taker?
Why not?
You're off the show. All right.
Biker Taker was terrible, but
was he the man with no face terrible?
No.
As much as I hate the Biker Taker, no, he was not that bad. All right. This next part actually got cut from the Hulu broadcast. Aleister Black and Ricochet defeated the Revival in a non-title match. This is apparently about 10 minutes. But they cut this whole thing out.
Once again, why are your tag team champions losing?
So they can get their win back when it's actually for the title?
I guess. I hate 50-50 booking. I hate it.
Yeah.
It no one benefits from it. It doesn't make anybody look good. You can't tell who is the superior. It's just like, oh, okay, well, they won.
The only way it works, especially with tag teams, is you do a one-on-one match.
Yes.
Title holder loses. You do a one-on-one match with the other guys, title holder loses.
Yeah.
So then you do the tag match, and then the title holders win because they work better as a team than they do as individuals.
Yep.
It's the only way it works.
Look at that. How hard is that? They could have just done Ricochet versus Dash Wilder.
But they did not.
Yeah.
So, and here's the other, every time I hear Dash Wilder, I don't know why, but I always think of the Amazon, I think they're called the Dash buttons.
Yes.
With the little like Bluetooth wireless button. You're supposed to like stick it on your washing machine, and every time you press it, you make an order for laundry detergent or whatever. So you have this big button that says Tide stuck on the front of your washing machine. Every time I hear the name Dash Wilder, all I can think of is this is that cheap pin from Amazon, this cheap guy, this cheap button you just press and you get this like thing that's like, I didn't really want this, but it's something.
Give me the one that say yeah and I touch it and Dash Wilder comes to my house.
Say yeah.
And beats up Ed Leslie when he's
trying
to deliver action figures.
If anyone's listening to this and you have one of those buttons that says Tide on it, please send it to me so I can rewire it. So every time I press the button, it goes, yeah. And then we'll be good to go. All right. We had this next segment. So then we go back to what was on Hulu, was the long McIntyre promo. Talked about Roman Reigns, talked about he beat leukemia, but he can't beat me. Great. Okay. Glad we went there. Talked about his family and whatever. And so then of course he had to come out for this. And like I forget, like I know Drew McIntyre is tall.
Yeah.
I forget how tall he really is.
He's a big dude.
Like he stood over Roman Reigns.
He's a big dude.
When you see the two of them go face to face, you're like, wow, Roman Reigns is a little punk kid in the face of grown-up Drew McIntyre. This is bizarre. But McIntyre needs to do. He's too lean. Like he needs to bulk a little more.
I don't know. He looks pretty big to me, man.
He looks cut. Like he's got a good physique, but I'm saying he needs to look more, like if you remember Scott Hall when Scott Hall first started, like before he ever went to WWE, he was like Madman Mountain.
Yeah, he had his porn mustache.
Yes, he had the Magnum PI thing going on.
Yeah.
Which is funny because apparently in my mind I had mixed up some of his matches with Magnum TA matches, and I went back.
But they looked pretty similar back then.
They did.
So that makes sense. Yeah.
So, but yeah, going back and looking at Scott Hall back in those days, it's like, wow, like that's amazing.
Steroids, man.
All right. So anyway, so then Reigns comes out and he's like, "You're not talking to Roman right now. Don't you ever talk to my family again."
Oh, so wait, so he's got multiple personality disorder now?
Well, because
he's either Roman or he's Joe.
Exactly, because when he came out, he said, "I've told you my name was Roman. That was a lie. My name's Joe." But then when he comes back, he's Roman again because he's an actor playing a character. But when he came out and cut that promo, that was for real. So that was the actor, which,
Great. Cool. Yeah, we got to blur the lines, right?
Break that fourth wall. Anyway,
break the walls down.
So then they fought. McIntyre hit him with a low blow, hit the Claymore kick. Referees came out, and people were just like, whatever. They didn't really care. They go to commercial. They come back. McIntyre's walking backstage, runs into Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose is like half asleep, pretending he has energy, cutting this promo. If there was any doubt in your mind whether or not Dean Ambrose is actually leaving or staying, or if this was a storyline, this should be the time where you finally understand for sure he is gone, because he has already left.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
His body may be there wrestling and doing these skits, but his soul is already on the beach in Florida, not a part of this company anymore.
Good on him, though, really. If he's got the money and he's sort of like lost his passion for it and he wants to go maybe wrestle somewhere else at some point, but just take time off and just enjoy doing other things, all the power to him. That's what you do, right? You get into the business, you make your money, but you save it along the way. And then when you want to check out, you're just done. You got all that money.
Because you either do that or you end up as Ric Flair.
True.
Excuse me. And I don't say that to be mean to Ric Flair. I'm just saying, if you've seen the 30 for 30, the man has not had a good life. Especially considering how much money he's made.
I haven't watched that, but I wanted to, because it did look very good.
So, did you see the movie The Wrestler several years ago? Okay. Yes. When you watch that movie and you know how it ends, and you're just like, I feel horrible about this business. I feel horrible for all the people that are stuck in it, and I feel horrible that that there's nothing else in these people's lives except doing this business.
Yeah,
that's how you feel after watching that 30 for 30. Excuse me, I got it.
Yeah, he's still getting over that sickness. He's gonna puke. He's got to grab his water. There we go. You all right?
Sorry, I had to mute the microphone there. That got pretty bad for a minute. Part of the problem is my throat is still really dry and scratchy.
Yeah.
Which you can probably hear in my voice a little bit, but the more I talk, it just it gets
Hall's cough drops.
Tickled, and Scott Hall's cough drops tastes like Grandpa's cough medicine.
Oh yeah.
All right. So anyway, Dean Ambrose, McIntyre, whatever. They're gonna have a match later tonight.
Another match. How many is this make now? 2, 3, something like that.
Yeah, and didn't Dean Ambrose get murdered like 2 weeks ago?
He did. I guess that's part of the the humor, right? As McIntyre's just walking backstage and Dean Ambrose just happens to be there.
And Dean Ambrose like doesn't attack him and say, "Hey, you tried to kill me 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you back." He's just like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" He's bad.
He's the lunatic fringe.
He's something. Yeah, and no neck brace angle, no crutches angle, no nothing.
Yeah, he's just there.
He just needed a couple days off to heal, and he's back. We had Natalya with Beth Phoenix in her corner versus Sasha Banks with her with Bayley in her corner. So the two are having a match. It is not great. It's okay. Doesn't really feel like anything all that special. So Nia Jax and Tamina come running out. They start to attack. So Beth Phoenix has to go in and clear Tamina and Nia Jax out just so that they can like show you Beth Phoenix can still do some moves and she still looks all right in the ring. And
I will say I've never liked the Glam Slam. There's too much setup for it and not enough like impact because you got to let go of them and it just looks really soft and ultimately kind of lame.
Well, and part of the problem too was Tamina
is terrible.
Well, she's got her arms behind her back as she's being held up, but then as she starts to fall, she puts the hand out in front.
Yeah,
and
that's what
you want to protect your face. I understand.
That's what always makes the move look so awkward.
It's like she's got enough time to bring her arm around, as opposed to just going down.
Yeah, it's never looked good.
Yeah,
I'm sure a few people over the years have taken that move well, but overall, it's just never looked that great. And this was the case with this, but the plan is a fatal 4-way for the women's tag championships at Mania.
Right. So you're going to get these three teams and the Iconics at WrestleMania.
I think the Iconics are going to win.
I kind of thought they might win based on the promos that they did when they announced the titles, because their promos were different than everyone else's. And so maybe they will let them win now, which I don't know. Well, whatever.
Did you just rip a fart?
No, I was trying to crack my neck, actually.
Oh, it's what
it was like that confused dog thing. I was like, like, I don't know who's supposed to win this thing. But then I started going. I was like, oh, that feels good.
Or it'll just don't put them on Nia Jax and Tamina. So that's probably what they'll end up doing.
All right. Kurt Angle talking about how he brought over Samoa Joe from SmackDown to wrestle him tonight. He said, he was proud to have faced Chad Gable and Apollo Crews. He'll be ready for Baron Corbin at WrestleMania, and everybody booed. And so then Corbin shows up and like gets in his face and blah 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 whatever, and the people just don't care. They don't want to see this guy. And then Angle just says screw you and walks away.
I think most of us at this point are like, we still hope that Baron Corbin is not going to be his opponent in Mania, that they're trolling us and it's going to be somebody else, hopefully Cena, because that would just be a nice little send-off, like throwback to his first match on TV.
But I'm thinking Cena's still working on a movie or something, so
he'll show up in some capacity. He'll show up, even if it's to beat someone in 5 seconds, like The Rock did to Rowan that one year in the greatest WrestleMania match of all time.
Greatest of all time, huh?
Greatest of all time. That was my favorite WrestleMania moment.
Was it as good as this week's episode of A Moment of Bliss?
No. Why are they still trying to make that a thing?
So, look, A Moment of Bliss, it's whatever. I mean, you got to do these segments in wrestling so that, you can get across stories, and you can do angles, and you can do.
I mean, she's easy on the eyes, and she's a good promo. But if it's not Piper's Pit, man, I've never really cared much. I've never really cared much about these other wrestling talk shows,
except for the Barbershop. Come on now,
that's still a no.
But what was even worse was the content of this show. It was her talking to Braun Strowman, and they brought the two guys from Saturday Night Live back because they booked this angle. They paid these guys, so gosh darn it, they're going to follow through. Whether anyone likes it or not, you're going to have to watch these Saturday Night Live guys. And they talked about the one guy was talking about how he wanted payments because Strowman destroyed the car. He said that he understood it was wrong to where the New York, the Mets hat or whatever it was.
So he switched
puts
to
on
the
a
Yankees hat because they're in Boston. That's where Raw is this week.
So I guess there's a Yankees Red Sox feud.
Dirt, really? You're that far removed?
Hey, I knew that Boston had a Red Sox team because I watched Cheers. Okay. I don't know that I've ever seen a Boston Red Sox game.
Dude, it's a massive rivalry. That's how the Red Sox had the curse of the Bambino, because they traded Babe Ruth away to the Yankees and they won all these championships, and the Red Sox didn't win for a long time, and they hate each other.
Okay.
So yeah. I'm glad I could give you this context of that.
Yeah, well now I know. So I can sleep easy tonight.
But will you though?
No. But Strowman, he basically goaded them into joining into the Battle Royal at WrestleMania.
Great.
And so they agreed, or the one guy agreed for both of them.
You know what? Let's just have the Battle Royal be Braun Strowman and just a bunch of celebrities.
the Braun Strowman celebrity beatdown at WrestleMania. That I could go for. Bring in a couple Kardashians. Bring in a former member of NSYNC.
It would have to be Joey Fatone. He seems to be the only one that will whore himself out to
absolutely anything. Yes. Although I give credit to Timberlake was in that same group, right? Or was he in a different one? Okay. I give credit to Timberlake because he will pop up at weird stuff and do things every so often where you don't expect to see him, like Lonely Island music videos.
Oh, yeah.
And he did that Matrix parody one year. So I'll give him credit for doing some fun stuff every now and again. But anyway, so he so Braun Strowman was like, all right, Alexa Bliss, make it official. And she was like, well, I can't really do that. I mean, I'm just okay, I'll do it. I'll make it official. And it's like, can she do that? Like,
she's the host,
I guess. So all right, they're gonna be in the match.
It's gonna be so hard to get through.
Like I said, I am now actively dreading.
Now I'm really thinking about it. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna have some bright spots, but for the most part, I'm gonna be bored.
They went back to Elias. He was standing in front of Madison Square Garden. He was drinking a cup of herbal tea, and a guy dropped some change in his cup. And he like pulled the money out, and he kind of got mad at the guy, and then I guess he was happy he got some change because he used to be a hobo drifter.
That's the first time he's ever made money from his music.
Then, luckily, Hulu actually cut out this next match. So I did not see Baron Corbin versus Apollo Crews. So they did talk about Corbin Burnson being a Golden Gloves boxing champion. He's a Money in the Bank winner. He's a U.S. champion. And apparently Boston is also his hometown. Corbin kicked out of a frog splash. He followed with the end of days and then gave another end of days after he won the match. They talked about how the three women in the main event are going to be at ESPN. They said it would be the first interview they'd done since the announcement was made that they were main eventing WrestleMania, even though they were all out cutting promos and doing stuff earlier in the night, whatever. But this is the first time it really counts because they're going outside of WWE, talking to real people. So, and then they said that they're going to be doing a match next week where it'll be the three, Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, and Charlotte in a tag match against the Riot Squad because we must see
how that'll go.
Oh my gosh,
the Riot Squad will win because of
I was going to say Liv Morgan will pin Charlotte just because they can.
Yikes.
They had Seth Rollins come out and cut a 20-minute promo. They actually put all of this on Hulu. This went long. Talked about John Cena, talked about Ric Flair, talked about Bret Hart, just different champions. He was talking about how he has to beat Brock Lesnar. He refused to let Brock Lesnar be the champion. He refuses to let Brock Lesnar define the future of WWE. He said he's going to burn it. Heyman interrupts. And Paul Heyman starts talking about, of course, that Seth Rollins can't win. His chance of winning is 0. He's pathetic, blah, 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 blah. And so Seth Rollins starts walking up the ramp, getting in Paul Heyman's face, and Paul Heyman drops to the ground, and he's crying, and he's screaming. He's like, leave me alone. Please don't hurt me. Whatever.
And he sold the mic drop, too. When Seth Rollins dropped the mic on him, he sold it like he'd been hit by a chair.
Those things weigh like 5 pounds. They can hurt if you get hit with the metal handle part.
The build for this has just not been great.
Well, because they don't have Lesnar there, you can't really do a whole lot.
Well, even when he was there, they had Seth Rollins doing something else and not even concentrating on Lesnar.
Yeah. Well, because they were setting up the Shield stuff. So then Rollins leaves and Kurt Angle comes out, and Kurt Angle stands behind Paul Heyman and gets everybody to chant "You suck" at Paul Heyman. And then they go to commercial and they come back and they have apparently Samoa Joe cut a promo and they cut it out on the Hulu. So then on the Hulu version, it's just here's Joe getting in the ring, and then the two of them start their match, and they go for 2 minutes, and then they go to another commercial.
Yep. And
they come back. And the match was okay. It didn't look, obviously this is Kurt Angle's retirement, so he's not performing at peak. But there was something about it that just didn't, I don't know. It didn't gel quite right. And maybe just because it was a thrown together at the last minute TV match. I don't know exactly what it was. But there was something that just kind of fell off about their timing on a lot of the stuff.
Yeah. Especially that suplex in particular.
Yeah, well, and then he went for Angle was up on the top rope, they were gonna do a muscle buster, and he pushed him off, and he tried to go for a drop kick, and he just barely right on him, and had to sell it.
It's kind of sad to see, and you can even see it when Angle comes out, when he's doing the "you suck" thing. It's all of this, his neck into his shoulders. It just seems like it's just crunched him together. And
because he kept wrestling with a broken freaking neck.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
I really hope that he is retiring, though. I think it is sort of time for him to.
Yeah, it's sad that he's going to, considering the type of talent he has been for the industry, but then at the same time, he's not going to be done with the company.
Yeah,
he's still going to be working backstage, and so hopefully he can be helpful in some way. So anyway, Joe tried to do the coquina clutch. Angle rolled it. Just did a quick roll up and got the pinfall. So they did.
Your new United States champion, Kurt Angle.
They did talk about how the two of them had a what would they say, like a long history in the past, but this is the first time they've ever wrestled in WWE. So they didn't actually mention TNA or Impact, but they at least acknowledged finally that it existed.
Right.
So there you go. Let's see.
Good way to make Joe look strong too, going into his match with Rey Mysterio at Mania, by the way.
Well, it is what it is.
Right.
They had Triple H come out. He cut a promo, talked about the women being in the main event, how it was historic. Okay, whatever. He said moments like this make him happy, like having a dry microphone, making fun of Batista and all the time he spit. He said something about he got a letter from Batista's lawyers saying that Batista won't
to get out. It took him forever to get out of his jacket.
Yeah, because he had a little pocket. The jacket is like a size too small,
Yeah.
And then he cuts out the sleeves, so it makes it look like he's bigger, like he's more swollen. But at the same time, it's like when he tries to move around in that jacket, like his arms don't. It's like Chris Farley doing that fat guy in a little coat.
Did he say that he was putting over the envelope or a job into it or something? There was some.
Yeah, he made some sort of thing, or like the envelope was getting over on him or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great how Triple H goes out there and he kind of just doesn't care. He just says what he wants to say because he can get away with it.
Yeah. So again, he's one of those guys who can go out and say whatever he wants. But anyway, the note from Batista's lawyer said Batista won't compete unless Triple H puts his career on the line.
Oh boy.
Do you think Triple H is going to lose? I don't hear a lot of excitement about this possibility.
I'm not excited about it, but the idea of throwing that stipulation in there does make it slightly intriguing because in a way you kind of don't know where they're going to go because he is sort of going to take over for Vince. He's got the NXT stuff that he's doing. But at the same time, too, I don't see him.
Yeah, there's no way. Although, something that I thought was really interesting. Where's Stephanie been the last couple weeks?
Thankfully, off of our TV screens.
I thought for sure she was going to come out and talk for 20 minutes about the women's division and its headlining WrestleMania and what a historic moment it is and how she's helped revolutionize women's wrestling.
Like she's done with everything else and sort of like killed it. Yeah.
But luckily we didn't get any of that. So.
Maybe they finally realized that they don't have to have her out there touting what the women are accomplishing in the
I
business.
almost wonder if Vince coming back for the last 2 months has kind of made Stephanie angry because she's supposed to be taking over. And Vince is like, you're doing a terrible job. I'm coming back again.
I don't know.
So I don't know. Anyway, they showed Elias and he was New York, of course, is raining. It's the middle of a rainstorm. And when they filmed all this stuff. So, of course, they tried to find a place where he can sit and play. And the only place they can find is there's like construction going on some street. So he's underneath the scaffold of this construction and he's trying to play. And of course, every time a car drives by, they're on a side street, so there's not as much traffic. But every time a car comes by, it's driving on the wet pavement. So you just hear like, shh, as the car goes past. You can't hear him at all. He's trying to talk about how he's making so much money here in New York. And he's playing his guitar, and everybody wants to come out and see Elias. There's absolutely no one around. So you're like, obviously, he's lying. Some guy walks by, looks down on the guitar case, and apparently there really is money in the guitar case. So the gag doesn't set up the rest of the scene, which doesn't match the gag of what he's saying. So I don't know what they were trying to prove here. But anyway, this guy reaches down and pulls out a wad of cash from the guitar case and runs off. So Elias sees him and takes a step and then stops. And is like, well, I'll just let him take it because I'll make so much money with my grand performance at WrestleMania. So, of course, he's not going to do a grand performance at WrestleMania. They're setting up for some sort of interruption. Something's going to happen.
Great.
And so then he starts playing again, and he's just singing to the sky. And you see the guy sneak back and pick up the whole guitar case and slam it shut and run off. And Elias just doesn't even see or hear him this time. Elias just keeps playing.
It's funny.
Because Elias is a big, dumb idiot. There's your WrestleMania angle.
God. Is Raw over yet? Are we near the end of this show? Come on.
Luckily, we are near the end. Let's see. They did promise Brock Lesnar will appear next week. It's the week before WrestleMania.
I would hope that he would, yeah.
And then they said Kurt Angle will face Rey Mysterio. So, okay, you get that.
That should be a good match, hopefully.
Drew McIntyre, Dean Ambrose. I don't remember. I guess they mentioned this earlier, but they made it a last man standing match. So as Drew McIntyre is coming down to the ring announcer is like, this is the last man standing match, which means a fall or pinfall or count can happen. Blah, 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 blah. He's trying to go through all the rules as fast as he possibly can Like he's got a 5-minute spiel he's trying to do in 30 seconds as McIntyre's coming down. So then Ambrose comes and they start to fight and they fight. They go to a commercial. And then they come back and they're fighting and they're fighting and they're fighting. And they're fighting and they're fighting and they're fighting. And they go to the steps and they go to the chairs and they're doing the announce tables and they get a kendo stick. They don't go up on the entryway. They don't go backstage. They don't. It's 2 weeks before WrestleMania. They're having a false count anywhere match. And they just basically stick it to the ring and ringside. They just make it a match where they beat each other up with weapons. It should have been like a no DQ match. You know, it's instead of a false count anywhere. Or last man standing. But anyway, so it's last man standing. So they do a count to 7 and that doesn't work. So they do a count to 5 and that doesn't work. So then finally, McIntyre sets up a table and he throws Dean Ambrose through the table in the corner. And Dean Ambrose finally gets up at the count of 9 or whatever. And McIntyre hits him with the Claymore kick. And Dean Ambrose falls back down. And this time he stays down to the count of 10. And it's like, of all the talk of the Shield reforming for the night at Fastlane and being there for each other, Seth Rollins having nothing to do that night except cut this promo. Roman Reigns came out, cut a promo, had a little brawl. It was over. Neither one of them got involved to come out and help Dean Ambrose.
And that's the thing. You would think Roman would come out and beat up McIntyre at least after the fact or something, right?
You would think that the other members of the Shield might have some issues with McIntyre for one thing or another that's happened over the last 2 months.
Or just, even if he ran away, at least have Roman come out and check on his friend. Something. No.
Yeah. And so, and then they made it a last man standing match. Which, a last man standing match, if you have a guy who's a gimmick as he puts people through tables, or he's Sabu, who will pick up a chair and do a 450 splash onto the chair, onto your chest, then doing something like a last man standing match works because the guy's gimmick is he does these big crazy moves, but they hurt him almost as much as the guy he's hurting. So he's able to get himself back up at 7, but the other guy is still down until 10. You can make last man standing work. To throw it into a normal, for no reason match just makes it have these long periods where nothing's happening, where you're just sitting there watching the count.
Dirt, they got time to kill, man. 3 hours. It's a 3-hour show.
The other problem is it's the main event. So if this was at 9:15, you could go, well, this may go another 5 minutes. This may go another 10 minutes. This may go 7 minutes. We don't really know. You're watching the main event of Raw. There's 4 minutes left.
Yeah, they don't have that run over anymore either.
Yeah, no one's coming out to do an angle.
Yeah.
There's no more, it's 4 minutes. Ric Flair is not going to show up and to call out Batista because of beating him up. None of that's happening. So it's he's hit and he goes down and you're like, nope, this isn't it. And he gets up at 5. And then they go a couple more and you're like, oh, they got 2 minutes.
But Michael Cole just told me that this could be it.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I hate that on commentary as well, especially in title matches. He's going to win the title. No, he's not going to now because you just said it.
It's one thing if there's a pinfall and the guy, 2 3/4, oh, that was so close. He almost had it. It's yes, you're right. That's exactly. Push the fact that he almost had it.
Yeah.
But when he hits him with a move and he's sitting there celebrating, he's like, this could be it. This could be it. It's well, obviously it's not because he's not covering him. He's not going for the pin.
And that's what I wish Corey Graves would kind of go to his inner Bobby Heenan, since he's basically a ripoff of Bobby Heenan, and be like, why isn't he covering him? Because that's the first thing Bobby Heenan would do. Is why is he celebrating? He could have had this match won. Maybe he does do that at some points, but with Raw commentary, I just have a tendency to just tune it out as best I can until I hear something really dumb, and I'm just like, man,
and you're just
get out of their ear. Just let them call the match.
This show is not good.
Raw is bad. Raw has been bad consistently this entire time. God, ugh.
All right.
The builds. So we're getting ready to move on to SmackDown.
We're getting ready to move on to SmackDown.
Right? Well, we did have another question in the chat if you wanted me to throw it your way.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
If you could bring back any wrestler in their prime to do a match, who would it be? It could be against anyone, a legend, a wrestler from now, or that leprechaun guy. I'm assuming they're talking about Hornswoggle.
Was there another leprechaun guy?
I guess not. Who would you bring? Honestly, I
would go back to the glory days of WCW and have Master P versus Beetlejuice from the Howard Stern Show.
God. All right, that's a good jokey answer. Honestly, I think just for the spectacle of it, obviously it wouldn't work now given both of their statuses, but what I really would have honestly genuinely enjoyed to have seen would have been that Sting Undertaker match. If they could have built it right, if they could have done this, like, I don't know, 18 years ago, it would have been fantastic. Other than that, I wish that they could have done something with Stone Cold and CM Punk, like they were teasing when the video game came out and he was on the cover. That would have been a lot of fun. But as far as now, it would cool to see someone like Ricky Steamboat in their prime against like Daniel Bryan. I think they'd put on like an amazing match. Or maybe like Dusty Rhodes in his prime. Kind of pair him up with someone he would mesh well with on the current roster. Bring the best out of him. My favorite wrestler of all time is a pretty deep cut. Okay.
When I first got into, when I was a fan of wrestling for a while in the whole WrestleMania, Rock and Wrestling, Hulkamania stuff, and then all of the wrestling shifted to cable television, and we didn't have cable television in my house growing up, so I didn't watch wrestling for a long time. I fell out of it just because I had no opportunity. When I got out of college, I got an apartment and cable was free with the apartment. So I started to watch wrestling again. Okay. And this was back in the Monday Night Wars and the head to head and everything. And so I started to go out and I watched all the wrestling I could possibly find. And because the Attitude Era was so hot, people were going out and finding anything they possibly could and putting it out on VHS. You could walk into a Blockbuster Video, a Hastings, a Family Video. You could walk into gas stations. You could walk into Toys R Us, and you could find wrestling VHS cassettes. And a lot of them were like the All-Stars of professional wrestling, or, history's greatest wrestling champions. And it was just all like public domain footage from black and white television feeds, or sometimes color closed circuit television feeds from Madison Square Garden or something that somebody had recorded, and now they were putting out on videotape. And I started watching on a bunch of these tapes I bought. I saw a lot of wrestling matches with Pat O'Connor.
Okay.
Pat O'Connor was a wrestler. He was an NWA champion. He was the first ever AWA World Heavyweight Champion. He was like one of those guys who was at the top in the 50s and 60s, that when every network did professional wrestling, because it was cheap, it was easy to throw on TV. You just had to set up a couple cameras and have a guy at ringside doing commentary. That's all you needed to set it up. So every channel, had pro wrestling, and pro wrestling was one of those things that really pushed television. Like, television grew because of professional wrestling. There really is a history there. But he was one of those guys who was one of those first big superstars, in that TV era with Gorgeous George and a lot of those other names. He's kind of fallen away in the annals of history. He's never quite been recognized as some of the others, but I had a lot of matches on these tapes, and he was as good, if not better, than anybody I've ever seen wrestle. I mean, he is a guy, if you go back and watch a match of his from 1963, the only thing that lets you know it's an old match with a guy who's not a current dynamic wrestler is the fact that it's black and white and the ropes are really loose, because they were always really loose back in those days for whatever reason. But he was just as dynamic and high flying and energetic as anybody else. And I just love watching his matches. He is just a guy who is just so phenomenal. If there was any way I could bring him back and have him do a match with anybody, I would. I always wanted to see him wrestle Macho Man Randy Savage from that 85, 87 era. Before Macho Man hit the cowboy hats and the tassels, back when he was the do-rag and the blue jeans guy, when he was the heel, I think those two guys, and this is me being like the biggest wrestling nerd in the history of all wrestling nerds, talking on a YouTube podcast, giving away, just being the biggest dork about professional wrestling. But I want that heel Randy Savage versus that face Pat O'Connor, 63 Pat O'Connor versus, 85 Macho Man Randy Savage. That to me would have been the ultimate matchup of all time.
Well, you can make that happen in WWE 2K19.
The last time I bought a WWE game, so when I got the Xbox One, and I think it was 2K15 that came out. And they had just changed the controls
again
to this new system that uses the two sticks.
Yeah.
And you have to move them at the right time
for submissions and all that. Yeah, it was too much. Yeah, I think that's about when I dropped out of it as well.
I loved the Smackdown style of the games. The Power Pro wrestling style that was just this is grapple, this is hit, this is dash, this is pin, and it's like you hit a button, you go for the grapple, you hit a button in a direction, and that's the move that you're going to pull off, because you had a lot of moves at your disposal, real easy, real quick to get to.
Yep.
I loved all those Smackdown games on the PlayStation.
Yeah, they're trying to make it too much of like a wrestling simulator. I'm like, I don't want that out of a wrestling game.
Right. They're trying to make it too real somehow. They're trying to make it more like an actual sports game, the way you would with a boxing or UFC type fighting engine, and that's just not what I want for wrestling.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't
like this is what I want from my wrestling games.
Yeah.
Is back in when you had these style of arcade games, something quick and furious.
I wish they would, and I know that at one point they did and released it on it's like a mobile thing, but I want them to do a proper remake of WrestleFest with new and old and put them in there, and Superstars would be cool as well.
As I say, I've got WrestleFest on here.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
Of course, I got the sound turned down, so it's not going to be sitting here making a whole lot of noise in the background. But, so I don't know. When I watch a lot of the guys today, there was something about just the way a lot of these older guys on these old black and white tapes, they didn't play to the camera, they played to the crowd. And that makes a huge difference in the way matches get across, because, back in those days, the wrestlers were working the crowd and the cameras happened to be there filming them.
Yep.
Whereas nowadays it's too focused on, here's a television production that we're putting across, and the guys have to look to the cameras and work to the cameras, talk to the cameras, and we get all the stuff happening in the background where you see, like, I like seeing some of the backstage stuff sometimes because it adds to the feuds and the storylines and whatever, but there's just too much of, I'm going to have a meeting with Vince. There's a lady standing backstage ready to interview somebody. It's no longer like, oh, we got to catch up with this person, put a microphone in their face, and this is what they have to say. It's, we have an interview spot backstage and we're having the person walk up and talk. Yeah. And I just don't like that as much.
Yeah, it's also weird and kind of jarring if you go to a television taping and when they're out there in the ring cutting the promo, they're staring up at that camera, and also the way that it works where they have those cameras, the hard cams and everything set up right there. They have a lot of that tarped off.
Right.
So it's almost like they're just talking to nobody. And it's just weird because all like the crowd is around them basically behind their back.
And if you go back to the Attitude Era, a lot of those guys, when they were cutting promos, they would turn and talk to the whole crowd. And you would just have the WWE camera guy on the apron who would hop up and film them. And now it's like they're so focused on facing those hard cams. And if a camera guy gets in the ring, he's got to stand in the corner and stay out of the way of the hard cams and just kind of zoom in and film. I don't know. I just don't. It's like, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Raw has become too much of a show about putting together a wrestling show as opposed to a wrestling show on TV. Like, it's more about the production of the show and trying to add extra backstage drama the way you would on, you know, the male soap opera, you know, aspect of it, the Unreal or the Desperate Housewives type of thing, instead of it being like, these guys are so angry, they're just fighting backstage. We got to get a camera crew back there so we can see what's going on.
I'm hoping that when AEW gets its TV deal and they're finally on, I hope that it's a different. It just looks different production wise.
And that's one thing I like about Major League Wrestling is they do things differently. Like there was supposed to be a tag match with Teddy Hart and Davey Boy Jr. versus the spoiled brat rich kids whose names I can't remember. But anyway, they were going to have this tag match, but apparently someone had thrown a brick through the windshield of one of the spoiled rich kids' car. And so the police were there to arrest Teddy Hart. So what they did is they had a flashing red light, and you could tell it was just kind of like sitting on a tripod, and it was outside the door, and they opened the back door to the arena, and they had Teddy Hart like pretending there was a police car out there. There were officers out there he was talking to, and he's like, they're going to arrest me. They're taking me down. They think I threw this brick through his car window. And it was an angle just to get him out so he wouldn't be there for the tag match, right?
Yeah.
But it was interesting to see, like, here's an angle. Commentary's not talking over it. There's no backstage interviewer sticking a microphone in their faces, you know, trying to hear them talk. Teddy Hart's doing stuff like he's talking to the police. He's like, I'm coming out, officers. I'm coming out. I'm not resisting. I just got to take care of something. And he's pulling like wads of cash out of his belt and handing them to Davey Boy Smith, and like taking off his watch and handing it to it. So none of his, you know, valuables are going to lock up where they're going to like disappear because, you know, some guy in county is going to swipe his stuff. And, you know, it was an interesting, different take on characters than the way WWE portrays them. It was presented as if there's this event going on and the camera guy just ran back there to film what was happening, but they weren't playing to the camera. The camera was just there recording what happened. And I'm like, this is great. Like, this is what I want. Like, this is what WWE needs to do. This is a storyline unfolding and the camera's there, as opposed to actors acting to the camera because it's presented on television.
How about that? They need to dial it back some. That's why when Triple H takes over, I hope that it sort of changes a lot of those things. We don't need to see quick cuts all the time, just in a promo, or even when the action's going on. I would actually like to see what is happening.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, the zooming thing. It's like we have to make it look more impactful. Why? It makes a sound when they hit the mat.
Like, the wrestlers are supposed to make it look impactful, and if the wrestlers aren't making it look impactful, then you need to get different wrestlers. I mean, that's the job. That's the business. One of the promotions, I was just going to say real quick, one of the promotions that I was booking for, at one time we had a meeting with the guys, because guys would come up, we would say, you two guys, we want to have a match. You need to go over. It needs to be dirty. It needs to, lead to whatever. You got about 12 minutes, fill your time.
Right.
And they would come up and be like, well, should I do this? Should I do this? Should I come at them this way? Should I do this? And it's like, just do it. Like, figure it out. This is your match. Like, so we had a meeting and we brought all the guys in and I said, look, you guys are supposed to be professionals. You guys, like, this is your job. This is what you want to do. You are not actors. You are wrestlers. So as wrestlers, if I tell you, cut a 5-minute promo, mention this and this and this, you should be able to go out there and cut a promo that lasts 5 minutes where you talk about those things. And the rest of it should be from your character, because you should know your character and you should be able to go out there and play it. When you do a wrestling match, I shouldn't have to tell you, do an armbar, go to reversal, off the ropes, duck the clothesline, do a drop down, frog splash over, hit him with a clothesline, back up into the ropes, clothesline again to the outside. Like, I shouldn't have to give you the feed of move per move. This is your job, is to put this stuff together and make it work. And that is, I don't think people in WWE, again, except for maybe some of those top guys, I don't think a lot of guys get to do that. I think a lot of the guys sit there with the road agent and they have to work through the entire match, move for move, and memorize all the moves before they go out.
Yeah.
And I've never really liked that style of wrestling. I always liked, especially when I had to go out there and interact with guys doing matches, it's like, this is all you're going to look for, is when I go to do the high cross body and roll off, you're going to grab my leg, pull me out of the ring, and hit me with your cane. And I'm like, okay, great. So that's all I'm watching for, is that moment. Otherwise, they throw the guy into the corner, he'll turn and talk to the ref and distract the ref. And I go, okay, this is my opportunity. I'll grab my cane and start choking a guy, or I'll hit him with it or something. We didn't plan this. It wasn't something that we talked about ahead of time. It's just like, you're out there, you're performing. He distracts the referee. That's my opportunity to attack the guy. Like, that's just the vocabulary of how you work. That's what you're looking through. He needs a breather. He needs a moment. He's not going to put on a rest hold. He talks to the ref. He gets his breather. I'm interacting now. The energy of the match is still flowing. And guys are losing the ability to figure out how to speak professional wrestling in a lot of these matches, because they have to memorize move per move for move for move for move and how they flow together. And the moment they forget one and they get distracted, it's like the whole thing starts to fall apart until they can get back on track again. And I just, watching a lot of the old wrestling matches were just, you got 10 minutes, go out there and kill 10 minutes.
Yep.
And that's what I like. And that's what I feel like Major League Wrestling and ROH do a lot more of that, except ROH does have a lot more of these guys, I think, who do plan out every move before they go out there. But again, Major League Wrestling, I've plugged the show a lot. I really, really like the show.
I need to watch it.
Just go on YouTube. They've been putting a lot of their matches and stuff up there. I think it usually takes a couple weeks, like whatever their deal with beIN Sports is. They have to wait like 2 weeks and then they can put it on YouTube or something like that. I don't know exactly, but anyway, I really like the product a lot, and the more I watch it, the more I get upset with WWE. All right, so
Smackdown. I'll probably have to mute my mic here in a second.
Smackdown. They went to the New Day coming down to the ring. They had Big E and Xavier Woods freaking out and yelling and talking about how they thought about walking away from the business. And Big E had actually gone on Instagram last week, and he made some video and he was talking about how, guys like us will never get a fair shake in this business. Guys like us are never going to be allowed to be in the main event, whatever. Obviously part of the storyline.
Yeah.
And yet I had to watch like 9,000 comments. Cultaholic posted this on Facebook. 9,000 comments from people like, yeah, they're always holding the wrong guys down. And if you're not part of the big family, you're never going to make it. And blah, 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 and whatever. And it's like, dude, it's a storyline. Like this video, this is not a contracted WWE wrestler going on Instagram and airing his dirty laundry.
Yeah. Getting worked.
I guess.
Working yourself into a shoot, brother.
So anyway, Vince McMahon came down to the ring. He started to talk. Daniel Bryan came out, interrupted. Daniel Bryan he kept doing this like through the thing. Vince would try to talk and he kept interrupting. He's like, yeah, you tell him, Vince. Yeah, you're right. And like, it was kind of funny at first, but then after a while you're like, it's so annoying. I'm expecting Vince to like turn around at some point and yell at Daniel Bryan, which he didn't do.
Yeah.
But it was just so annoying after a while. It's like, I get it. You're a heel, you're annoying, fine. But at the same time, it's like, it's like at some point, anyway. So let's see. Vince McMahon said the New Day was a stale nostalgia act that he had created. He said he could call up any 3 wrestlers, call them the Fresh Afternoon, give them the exact same gimmick, and he could get them over.
Please do that. Please do that.
You want to see New Day versus the Fresh Afternoon?
Who would be in your Fresh Afternoon stable?
I don't watch NXT. I don't know. I couldn't. I couldn't tell you. Well, no, wait. I know. Wait. The surfer dude. Who's the laid back surfer? Former UFC guy. Comes out barefoot.
Oh man, you put me on the spot.
What is that guy's name?
Wow, I feel horrible that I don't remember.
But you know who I'm talking about? Matt Riddle.
There you go.
Matt Riddle would be the leader, the talker of the Fresh Afternoon. I don't know who else is on NXT, but Matt Riddle, that's your guy for Fresh Afternoon. That would be great if those guys in NXT just suddenly decide they're going to run with it.
I mean, why not?
If they came out, and he made some joke like they could come out and throw waffles at the crowd because they've been coming out throwing pancakes. So Fresh Afternoon came out throwing waffles. Yeah, I'd actually be all for that. Let's see here.
I'm gonna say this as well because it's in it during this promo where it's made that if Vince is like, if Xavier and Big E can run the gauntlet as a tag team, then Kofi will get his chance, right? And in my head, I'm like, well, why didn't you do that last week and have him come up short and then have Kofi do the gauntlet this week and actually earn it himself without any shenanigans?
Yeah, I don't know what's to gain by having Kofi not good enough to make it.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that maybe they're setting him up to lose at WrestleMania because he's just not good enough, which doesn't seem. I mean, that would be incredibly dumb.
Yeah.
But the other thing would be, it then sets up the rematch because Daniel Bryan can then make the argument you couldn't even get in the match on your own. The other guys had to do it for you. And in order to keep them from being at ringside, we're going to do this match in a steel cage, in a Hell in the Cell, in the Punjabi prison match.
There we go. As long as Great Khali is the referee, I don't care.
But he couldn't get down. Like he wouldn't be able to get down. He'd have to smack the turnbuckle. He wouldn't be able to get down on the ground. Anyway. Oh, by the way, I just have to mention this. Some guy like 2 or 3 years ago did a rap song done by the Great Khali. And what I mean is he took clips of every promo and interview that Great Khali has done and set them to music so that, because like you can't understand what he's saying most of the time.
Do these still exist?
Oh, it's somewhere on YouTube.
Please find it and send it to me.
I don't know if it's called like the Khali rap or something like that, but it's like this like funky like dance tune with the Great Khali, clips playing to the music, and it's just like great. Who did the greatest happy all time? Great Khali, and it's just like it was the greatest thing ever. Anyway, all right. Yeah, so Kofi Kingston didn't say a word through this entire thing. It was all Big E and Xavier Woods. Commentary even said, so if Big Ali, if Big E and Xavier Woods, he goes, even if they do
Big Ali in the fresh afternoon.
Well, it wouldn't be Mustafa Ali.
Daniel Ryan.
Dan Ryan was a Chicago politician. They named a expressway after him, and that's the one that's always in the traffic reports when you're going to Chicago. Cars are backed up on the Dan Ryan Expressway. All right. So anyway, they had Becky Lynch. She was talking about WrestleMania. She said that she brings the people. She said that Ronda Rousey brings the Raw Championship, but she wonders why Charlotte Flair is even there. Charlotte Flair is a third wheel, which is exactly what everyone has been saying since the Royal Rumble. And apparently, it's because of this, they made a last-minute change to the booking of SmackDown. And they booked Charlotte Flair versus Asuka for the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Yep, this pissed a lot of people off.
Oh, yeah, it did. I was one of them.
Yeah.
Because they made it very clear that they have absolutely nothing for Asuka, which is, they've made that clear for several weeks. I mean, it's just been obvious. They had absolutely nothing for her to do at WrestleMania. And so they just, the match was supposed to be something different. I forget what it was, but the last minute they just decided Charlotte Flair versus Asuka. The two of them come out, and I knew, like I said, I didn't watch this until yesterday. I knew what was going to happen. I knew what the outcome was. I was pissed off about what was happening. And I'm watching this going, this is the greatest match these two have probably ever had.
It was a really good match.
This match was phenomenal. And it pissed me off even more because if they had Becky replace Charlotte and had Charlotte versus Asuka and had Charlotte take the title from Asuka at WrestleMania and had given us this match, it would have been awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole point is it's somewhere along the line, they had spoken 2 months back that at WrestleMania, they were going to have the 4 horsewomen, Becky, Charlotte, Sasha, and Bayley, all at WrestleMania, all holding titles. And the idea was that was going to cement the completion of the women's revolution. The women's revolution was over. They had won. They had cemented their place in WWE, and now WWE could move forward to the next phase beyond the women's revolution, which started with the retirement of the Divas title and now works up to the point where the 4 horsewomen work their way up from NXT to the main roster, and they're all standing there with titles. And
what a moment.
What a WrestleMania moment. And then at some point, they said, that's a neat idea, but we'll go this other direction. And then apparently someone brought it back up to Vince, and he said on Tuesday, that is a really good idea. You know what? Let's book it that way. And that's exactly what they did here. Last minute change. They decided
I guess
to take
Sasha and Bayley are going to retain at Mania then, right?
Exactly. So all of this was because they had nothing for Asuka. Charlotte was the third wheel, had no reason to be there. So now the question is, are they going to somehow unify?
That's what I was. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you.
Which I don't see them doing that. I just don't see, because they have two men's titles. I think they're still going to have 2 women's titles. And that also breaks the moment of all 4 of them staying there with championships.
True. We'll see how it goes.
But the other question is, so if Becky pins Ronda Rousey, then the feud is Becky and Ronda Rousey. The feud is not Becky and Charlotte. So where does Ronda fit in with this? Where does Becky and where does Charlotte fit in with this? Like, it's still, even though you've built for this moment for WrestleMania, it still doesn't filter out anywhere unless all these rumors. We've heard a lot about Ronda leaving, Ronda taking time off. starting a family, doing whatever. If that's not happening, if Ronda is staying, if she is going to continue to be a performer, at least for the time being in WWE, then her being in this match, having it be with the 2 titles, Ronda loses, but maybe she gets over on Charlotte through the entire match. And so then finally, it's like Charlotte is beating her up. The 2 of them are going back and forth. Becky's able to get over on Ronda. She wins the title, but now Charlotte has this claim that her and Becky had this great thing that, or her and whatever, Ronda and Charlotte had this great thing, and Becky, messed it up. And so now you can transfer Ronda to Charlotte and have Becky, move on to something else.
That would probably make the most sense if SmackDown is moving to Fox in a few months and they want it to be more sports-like.
Right, to have the UFC. Right, yeah. And so then you have some of those other UFC, like, and she's brought her boyfriend, husband, whatever. Was at the show last week. Yeah, I have no idea who he is, but
I don't either.
But so he may be getting more involved with WWE. They bring up Matt Riddle. There's another UFC connection. So they have all this stuff now pushing UFC stuff to Fox for Fox Sports, and there you have a whole situation with that.
Well, I guess it's time to bring back Dan Severn and Ken Shamrock. Why did I almost say Chris Shamrock? Man, you got me all tired. Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. Asuka shouldn't have lost. If anything, they should have had shenanigans where, let's say, Ronda came out and distracted anything. Asuka did not need to lose the title, especially if at the end of this there's no real benefit to it or they don't do anything with it.
I mean, I think when Becky got injured and Charlotte was added to the match, they should have had Asuka go up to Charlotte and be like, well, lucky you've been put into that match because you're afraid to wrestle me for this championship. So then when Becky comes back, Becky wins her spot back. Asuka can make fun of Charlotte for losing that spot that she was handed. And then it sets up for a Charlotte versus Asuka match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, there's better ways to go about this. They've convoluted both of these build-ups with the women's championship match and then Kofi's road to WrestleMania.
And they keep pushing them. Like, we're now 1 week away. Well, one more Raw and SmackDown away from WrestleMania, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like now we're finally at a point where they've cemented the main events. Yeah. Like, this should have been, when you came out of Fastlane, you should have had your main events for WrestleMania to hype them, and they didn't. And we've talked about that before, so I won't go through all that.
Right.
Anyway, all right. So next up, we had AJ Styles versus Kurt Angle. Again, they talked about how these two had a storied history outside of the WWE, but this is the first time they were wrestling in WWE. They go for a couple minutes, and you hear the entire crowd like, whoa, 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 whoa. So you know something's happening, and sure enough, there's Randy Orton. Jumps in the middle of this ring and attacks. Hits the RKO on Styles. Angle grabs Orton, hits him with an angle slam that did not look great.
Yeah, looked pretty bad.
They kept it really short. I don't know if Kurt Angle, maybe he injured himself against Samoa Joe. Maybe he tried to do too much. And like I said, that match looked off. So I wonder if somehow early on he pulled something or strained something or hurt himself in some way. And so that also threw off this match. Anyway, so they did that. They showed a clip from earlier in the day where Rey Mysterio and Dominic were there. And again, how tall is the milkman that comes around to Rey Mysterio's house?
Yeah. Either that or, his wife is very tall.
Is his wife 7 feet tall?
I don't know, but he's a big kid. I guess I'm assuming the plan is like Joe's gonna kind of beat him up at Mania, right? Like he has to.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened to Andrade to piss off the people behind the stage. Good for Ray to get title shot at Mania, do a storyline with his son there, but I'm pretty sure his son is going to get attacked. So the son will get in. the son apparently has done wrestling with some small groups.
Yeah.
He's training.
So I'm guessing the son is going to get involved in the match. There's going to be something there, and then they may. I don't know if this is the son's push to the main roster. What the deal is there?
Wouldn't it be funny though? They should have put a mask on him. It would have been funny to me if he's like wearing the same mask.
Yeah, except you already saw him on TV as a little kid without the mask.
We already saw Mysterio's face back in WCW. Why does that matter?
That never happened. That's not history. You can't prove that. That's how WWE.
The custody of Dominic ladder match.
Yes, the kid on a pole match, as it's called. Better than the Judy Bagwell on a pole match.
But is it better than Viagra on a pole?
No, that nothing beats that. Actually, we did a match one time. We had a guy who was kind of like the blue collar. Like, of course, he was a big Stone Cold fan, so he wanted to do everything Stone Cold did. But his character was like, he's just like the blue collar everyman, decided to get into wrestling. Likes to drink a couple beers, watch TV. He was agile enough, but he wasn't super athletic, so he had a little bit of a gut.
Yeah.
And that was just like part of his gimmick. And he was doing a feud with this redneck. And we had this guy, he would come out to Cotton Eye Joe and he'd like dance a little jig on the way to the ring, had the straw hat, overalls.
So you went, why didn't you just have like the dueling banjos?
Because I mean, that's who this guy was in real life.
Oh, all right.
I mean, this guy was like,
that makes sense.
He like lived in the mobile home next to Fake Kid Rock. In real life, and so his wrestling character
played to his wheelhouse.
Yes, it's turned up to 11.
Yeah.
So anyway, the two of them had a feud, and they wanted to do something on a pole match. And it's like okay, like they really they kept talking about this like for months. They really wanted to do something on the pole match.
Moonshine on a pole.
So no, we went with the Natty Light on a pole match. We got a case of Natty Light. And roped it and hung it on the pole. And so they had a case of Natty Light. And the storyline was that this was a whole 24 pack of Natty Light. This wasn't a 6. This wasn't a 12. This was the big dollar pack of Natty Light. And they both wanted the high dollar big
$11 case of beer.
So that was the culmination of this feud, was who could get the high dollar big pack of Natty Light off the pole. It was the dumbest thing, but it was also one of those things like it made me so happy to watch this thing, because that's one of the things you can do with small town independent wrestling is like the feud makes no sense, but the crowd gets it. Right. Yeah. Like, and you've got guys on both sides, because you've got the guys who come to the show because this is some real time wrestling, that they're with the country boy. They got it. He's going to beat this city boy. And then you've got the guys who are the blue collar guys that just want to come and they want to drink the beers and watch people fight. We always we wanted alcohol at our shows. At one point we were doing shows in a part of the unincorporated county. So it was like, bring your own. You could bring your own beer to the shows, and it was great. But it was just like people got it. Like the feud, you got to know your crowd, and it worked. Natty Light on a pole match. So that's one of my favorite pole matches of all time. Not Judy Bagwell on a pole, not Viagra on a pole. Pole matches can work if you've got the right gimmick for the right guys on a pole, and the 24 pack of Natty Light was the right thing for that gimmick, and it was great. Anyway, getting ready to talk about the next part of SmackDown. So here we go. We are going back to the Old Smoky, Tennessee, Mountain Made. Well, where's my camera? There it is. Mountain Made salty caramel whiskey,
or caramel for you weirdos out there that want to pronounce it that way.
For those of you who like to eat your pecans coated in your caramel, there's the stuff for you. All right. So next up, oh, this smells so good. Next up, we had The Miz making his way down the ring.
Oh yeah, this segment. It all makes sense now. Hey, the crowd's actually getting behind Miz though.
Somehow,
some way.
but I'm still not looking forward to this match.
I'm not either.
This match is going to be. I don't. The only thing I'm looking forward to in this match is trying to figure out what color Shane's face is going to be at the end of it.
A Falls Count Anywhere, right?
Is it going to be? I
turned it into now.
Yeah, I think
they have
to
turn it into something to play to Shane's singles competitive wheelhouse.
Right. So the thing is, when you see the entryway, when you see the guys coming out, look for the thing that you can climb
that he can jump off.
And look underneath it, because you'll probably see like a dark period that's not, or a dark area that's not well lit, where there's probably a bunch of gimmick boxes and black tablecloths on stuff to cover up the fall spot. But anyway, he called out Shane. He talked about how it's a Falls Count Anywhere. This lit a fire inside of him. He's gonna it's Falls Count Anywhere, so they can go wherever they want in the MetLife Stadium, which I immediately had the flashbacks to the Hardcore Championship match at WrestleMania, where it's like Kane and Big Show fighting in the bathroom and the concession stand, and whatever.
And like at the golf cart thing, and Raven ran off the side and almost cut the power to the show. That was great.
So Shane comes out, and he's got the geeks that you always get in the black shirts who are the personal security. And then he brings out every guy on the roster all the guys that you forgot were still under contract.
Yeah. Right.
Who had to gear up and apparently, they're at the stadium every week getting a paycheck, even though they're like never on TV. Maybe they're on like the syndicated show in India that has like 3 matches of people that you forget work for WWE, Worldwide or Heat or Saturday Night or whatever. And he brings out Shelton Benjamin, Sanity,
Primo.
And you hear commentary go, is that Primo Cologne? I forgot Primo still worked for this company.
I mean, at least they're addressing it, right?
I guess.
What, did Shane just walk back like past catering and was like, "Hey, come with me"? What do you need?
He's the rich son of the boss, so he just handed each of them money out of his pocket, said, "You guys are my hired guns for tonight." So anyway, the ring announcer, of course, was forced to announce him as the best in the world, because that's the gimmick.
Yep. Hey, a trophy to prove it, though.
I guess. He said Miz is as dumb as Miz's father looks. So of course they showed the clip of him attacking Miz's dad. Shane agreed to the Falls Count Anywhere. He's hoping to fight all over that MetLife Stadium. His only regret is that he didn't beat up his dad more. He said that Miz was a mistake for Miz's mom. And so, of course, now you mentioned Miz's mom. So now Miz freaks out. So mom's going to be at WrestleMania.
Right.
So Miz comes down and somehow
beats up everybody.
Every single guy falls. If you had Miz in a match versus Primo Cologne on SmackDown, it would be 5.5 minutes. If you had him versus Shelton Benjamin, it'd be 7 minutes. If you had him versus Sanity, he might still just beat him in 30 seconds. But the point is, he just beat every single one of these guys. This is the guy who could not win any of his matches as part of the whole gimmick of this feud and trying to get these tag matches and whatever. It's like he couldn't win a single match on his own.
But he can beat up security.
He can beat up 5 security guys and 6 guys from backstage. Yeah, so this was dumb. All right, so
if you guys want to mail Dirt some Miz action figures that he can sit behind him on his shelves.
No, wait. The difference is I actually kind of like Brutus Beefcake. Do you kind of like the Miz? Like, do you like the Miz? Like, if you thought like, he's a pretty good guy all these years.
I mean, he's not that good in the ring. his promos have potential, but he stammers over his words all the time. He's done a lot for the company. I think he's a good company guy. I think he's a nice person outside of being that character, et cetera, et cetera. But
see, when I was a kid, I liked Brutus Beefcake. And there was one year when they did career day at school. It was like 6th grade.
It's Beefcake.
And I was not Beefcake, but my best friend at the time, Bill, he was Brutus Beefcake. He took socks and put them on, cut out finger holes and cut the slashes in it, and cut the slashes for the ones on his leg. And he was, he had the bow tie. He was walking around all day doing the scissor fingers. I had my Macho Man glasses. I had the do-rag. I had my my bathrobe and my WWE championship.
Well, then you should have been like Macho Man and beat up your friend and been like, we're not friends anymore.
Well, that happened later. That actually happened in high school.
You beat him up?
6th grade. Yeah. He and I had a falling out at one point, and he was like, he wanted to fight. I forget. Like, I don't even remember. I probably deserved it. I probably deserved to get into a fight for something. I probably said something dumb. He wanted to get into a fight. So, and he lived right across the street from me.
Hell yeah.
So it's like, like we lived across the street from each other for 7 years, something like that. And so like we got into this fight, like a bunch of, everybody got off the bus because they wanted to see what was going on, all these people watching. And we ended up with like, I don't know, grappling around for a minute. We're not like throwing punches, but we're still like, you want to choke the guy. You're mad. You want to, twist their arm or whatever, but we're not really trying to kill each other.
Right.
But I end up getting him into the headlock, and I've got it locked, and he legitimately can't get out. And he's pushing, and he's like, trying to throw some punches at me, trying to get me to break it. And he legitimately cannot get out of this headlock. And so eventually he's just like, enough, I've had enough. And so I let go, and it's like, this is dumb. I don't want to do this. What's like, why are we doing this? Whatever. And someone turned to him and they were like, you actually quit? And he's like, he turns to them and he goes, if your head was that close to his armpit, you would do anything to stop the fight as well. And I was like, this guy, like, I won, and this guy just got over on me on the promo. Like, what? Like, I had to give him credit for that. And we made up afterwards.
And then you guys didn't talk anymore.
And then we became enemies on Facebook later. But
the feud rolls on.
And then we patched stuff up by getting drunk over Christmas this year. So
anyway, pole match.
Anyway, so yeah, but he was a big Brutus the Beefcake fan. I always kind of liked the character. I thought it was fun. Now, I didn't watch any of the WCW stuff at the time because that was the era I did not have cable TV when all that stuff was on.
For the best. That was a terrible time for WCW.
I only caught WCW a few times during that period. Like there was a time when I was in college, I was dating this girl. She had these friends. They always watch Raw and SmackDown. So I went with her to watch Raw and SmackDown, and it was the night that Stone Cold drove the Zamboni down to ringside and got arrested.
Yeah.
And it's like I hadn't watched wrestling in several years at that point. And I was like so excited. Like I was laughing. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I was like, let's call the police department. Let's offer his bail money. Let's, I was like, oh, this was so much fun. And that got me back in. But anyway, I digress. So don't send me Miz merchandise, people. Please do not. I hate the Miz. I've always hated the Miz. He's like I wanted to stop when they made him champion. Like I wanted to stop watching wrestling at that point. But anyway, so they did this whole thing with Miz just somehow beat everybody up. And Shane just kind of like walked away. And like he stood in the entryway and he just kind of watched watching back as Miz was beating everybody up, and then Shane just kind of left.
Yeah.
They had the Iconics backstage again talking about WrestleMania. They promised to win the tag titles. They said WrestleMania will finally be iconic. And again, this is similar to the stuff that they were cutting back when they announced the women's tag team championships. So it's like I kind of feel like they could win them, but again, it takes away from that 4 horsewomen thing at the end of the night. But again, that's WWE. Is they change direction so often and so quickly and on such a whim. Maybe the Iconics were going to win, and now they're not.
Yeah, it's weird that they try to make it unpredictable by doing that, but somehow still make it predictable.
Well, but it becomes predictable because you follow the logic, but it becomes unpredictable because then WWE, for a last minute swerve, will do something incredibly stupid, like have Stone Cold turn heel on The Rock to side with Vince McMahon because they need a swerve for a WrestleMania moment. Yeah. Where it makes absolutely no sense.
What a moment.
But for that moment, you got that swerve. You sure fooled those fans. All right, so I think the whole rest of the show was the Gauntlet. Yeah. And it's like this is the third Gauntlet they've done in 5 weeks, is it? It hasn't been the last 3 in the row, is it? Like there was something else in between, right?
It's all blending together. But it seems kind of lazy. It's like they want to write the rest of the show, do a Gauntlet match.
And they do it like there was actually one good segment where the wrestling was good, and there was a segment that was actually interesting.
Yeah.
That didn't make sense, but okay, you can roll with it. And then like the rest of it was just filling time because they have to fill time to fill up SmackDown. So it started out with New Day against Anderson and Gallows. Much like Dean Ambrose,
they're on their way out.
If you were not aware that Anderson and Gallows were leaving, now you know after watching this performance, because they did not care. They walked out to the ring. They wrestled for like 30 seconds. They got eliminated. They left. They could not care any less to be there.
Yep.
Next up, they got Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev. Nakamura could not care. Again, he's on autopilot.
I read a thing where it's just like, he's just there. His family likes it in Florida. So there you go. Take that for what it is.
Yeah. So apparently, like his family, yes, like you said, his family loves Florida. I heard the same thing this week. His family loves Florida. They like how much money he's making. He has made apparently so much more in WWE than he ever made in Japan. He's put almost all of it in the bank. He is now at the point where when they say he's done, he is just going to go back to his house in Florida and be with his family. And he has money in the bank, and he's got investments. And I guess like he bought into like a restaurant or a car wash or something. So he's got like other income coming in. Yep. And when he's all done with wrestling, his life is set up. He doesn't have to work another day in his life. WWE has nothing for him. They threw him into a useless tag team. He's going to do some tag team matches. Whatever. He doesn't care. He's there. He'll wrestle. And then he's done.
Yeah.
And you could totally see that in this match. Like, he's still a talent. Don't get me wrong. The guy is good. But it's like watching the best way I can think to put it is going to watch Sinatra in Vegas in the 80s. He's got the money. He's set for life. He's not making any new music. He's not setting any new records. His contract is until like he dies. So he just goes out there every night, sings the same set of the same 24 songs, drinks his whiskey on stage, gets loaded, leaves, goes back to his hotel room. He's done every night for the rest of his life. You go, you're like, I'm watching Sinatra. This is awesome. It's Sinatra. I'm watching Shinsuke Nakamura. It's great. I'm watching Shinsuke Nakamura. But I'm watching the greatest hits performed over and over and over. No new spark, no new creativity, nothing added to it. I'm just watching those greatest hits performed over and over and over until
that's got to be tough. like some people can embrace it and be okay with that, and others just really struggle with it. Like I feel Ambrose is the person that struggles because he doesn't. Yes, money's good, but I feel to him it's the craft and what he does when he performs that matters the most to him. So hopefully he can just do that somewhere else. I hope Nakamura gets that spark back, or they.
I wonder if part of it is also the language barrier, whereas Nakamura, he can play off the crowd and he can hear like the oohs and the ohs and whatever.
Yeah.
But he doesn't play off the crowd in the same way because he doesn't cut promos in the same way.
Right.
Because the language is not, as key to him. So that makes it a little more difficult, I think, for him to.
You need to watch his match with Sami Zayn when he first showed up.
In NXT?
Yes.
Okay.
Fantastic.
And Sami Zayn is another one. Like, where's he at? Is he injured?
Yeah, he's been injured.
That's a shame.
They were doing those packages like he's coming back soon, and he hasn't. I'm assuming after Mania.
Honestly, I would, and I know this is going to make people angry. I'll hate mail dirt at popculturenetwork.com. I would cut out Finn Balor and put Sami Zayn in his place
against Bobby Lashley and continue that.
No, just in WWE. I would cut out Finn Balor, and I would just promote Sami Zayn instead.
I mean,
Finn Balor's okay, but there's just something about him that just doesn't click with me. I don't. It's he's got some sort of fake charisma thing that I just don't buy into.
Yeah, that's why he needs to be heel. I think
Sami Zayn, he doesn't really work as well as a heel. I think he works better as a babyface. When he comes out as a babyface, like I genuinely feel like his excitement for being in WWE.
Yeah,
like he actually. And we can argue all we want about the product, but he's genuinely excited to be in WWE, to be on their stage, to be on their TV show.
Yeah, like, he looks happy to perform.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. And so again, I would cut out Finn Balor and just stick Sami Zayn there. But anyway, so they had New Day versus Nakamura, Rusev, and it was almost like the exact same finish. Where they set up, they get the up, down, down for the win. Then they wrestled the Bar, and this is probably the best tag match the Bar has had in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was part of the Gauntlet, and you knew there was no way they were going to win, this was probably the best match the Bar has had.
They are capable of putting on fantastic matches.
Oh, I know they're both capable. I've liked Sheamus ever since he debuted. I know he's had kind of a rough patch here and there. Yeah. I know, and there's a lot of people that don't like him, and a lot of people it's like he's just Triple H's, back pocket boy, and that's why he gets pushed and whatever. Right. I've always thought he was a fun talent. I don't like the Mohawk, but whatever. Cesaro is a guy who is horribly underutilized in WWE. Mm-hmm. He should be a top guy. He has that ability to work the crowd, and he's got charisma, and he could be a star.
Like, could you imagine just a championship match with like Cesaro versus a Daniel Bryan or an AJ Styles? They'd tear the house down.
Versus Sami Zayn.
Yes,
Cesaro versus Sami Zayn.
And they have once again. Look up on NXT. They had a match. I want to say it was a 2 out of 3 falls match, and it was fantastic.
All right, so then they did almost the same ending though. On this time, Big E gets Cesaro out of the ring, but instead of doing the up, down, down, Xavier Woods just rolls up Sheamus and gets a win. But this time, the Bar just starts attacking them after the match. They pull out a table. They put Big E through the table. They leave. Xavier Woods is standing over Big E. He's hurt. He can't fight. What are we going to do? The Usos come out. They make sure to announce this is a non-title match. The Usos come out. They do their B-boy bopping whatever thing.
As Tyler would say, shucking and jiving.
Shucking and jiving, which is absolutely correct. Why isn't Slick coming out of retirement to be their manager? I don't understand. But anyway, they get on the mic, and somehow they turn babyface. And I don't understand this, but the Usos...
No, it rings true in what they said, because there for a while, the Usos and the New Day did have quite a lengthy feud. And they had a match at the Hell in a Cell, and that was pretty brutal from what I remember. So what they said made sense.
So basically, they said that New Day has earned their respect. They believe in Kofi Kingston. They believe he's earned his shot. Kofi Kingston has earned their respect. So they wish them the best of luck. They hope they can win this, and they go, we forfeit the match. Drop the mics and they leave.
I thought that was great.
They cut to the back. They cut to the back, and Daniel Bryan and Rowan are like, what? No. And they just start smashing the dressing room. They have a flat screen TV sitting on the table. They kick the table, and the TV just kind of like tilts back. And so they grab the TV and they throw the TV, and the TV just kind of flips around and rests on the lockers in the back. They pick up plastic chairs. They're throwing plastic chairs. They pick up, I don't know, I think they had like a 5-gallon plastic bucket. They throw the bucket. They're throwing clothes. They're throwing suitcase. They're trashing. The TV's still sitting there. So finally, I think it was Rowan, like grabs the table and throws the table so that the TV finally smashes to the ground. And the TV just kind of lands flat, and you can see the glow from the TV. It's still on. They still didn't smash.
Hey, that's a sturdy TV.
Yeah, I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know what brand this is, but whatever brand, they should cut a deal with them and just talk about like how versatile and how strong their television sets are, and show the clip of them smashing everything, and just like have somebody go back and pick up the TV and be like, look, the TV still works. So anyway, they smash everything. They go to commercial. They come back. Rowan, Daniel Bryan come out. They attack. They're attacking Big E. They're working over his leg. They smash it into the ring post. They slam it into the ground. They step on it. Xavier Woods throws Rowan to the outside. Hits this big dive. Daniel Bryan charges at Big E. Big E, ends up picking him up. Hits a move. They just keep going like back and forth, keep trying, and they keep doing like this whole, this could be it. Are they going to lose it for Kofi?
And it keeps panning backstage to like Kofi and like other people like looking at the TV like, oh yeah.
Yeah. You can see like Matt Hardy back there. You can see Rey Mysterio, Becky Lynch. Yeah. They had all these people back there like celebrating with them every time they would win and watching. And it was like the exact same thing that we saw from before, where the New Day standing backstage and all the people cheering on Kofi. Now everybody's cheering with Kofi, watching New Day. Finally, they throw Rowan to the outside, and Big E grabs the announce table and flips it over, and it doesn't quite cover Rowan, so he's got to flip it again, and this time it's laying on top of Rowan, and so now Rowan cannot get out and get back to the ring. So then they attack Daniel Bryan. No. They announced that Rowan was the legal man of the match. Yeah. So he's got to be able to get back into the ring. So the referee starts counting. And in WWE crowds, I don't know what's wrong with you people. Every single time the referee does a 10 count in some sort of big event like this, the crowd messes up the count. Because the referee's like, 1, and you hear the crowd 1. 2, you hear the crowd 2. By the time he gets to 5, it's like 5. The crowd goes 6. 6. The crowd's like 7. 7. The crowd's like 8.
They're just trying to help push it to 10.
They're like so excited. He's like 9. When he does 9, the crowd is like 10, 10, 10. It's like he hasn't gotten to 10 yet. People stop.
It's like, hey, Ty Dillinger got released. He's not coming out. Is that a joke that's just going over your head? You're like, who?
Like I kind of recognize the name, but yeah. So anyway,
anticlimactic.
Yeah. So they finally get the 10
count out,
and this goes back to the problem we had with Raw. When it comes down to a count out, you're just sitting there with dead time on your hands, just waiting to fill that time until you get there. But at the same time, this is the main event of the show. Yeah, there's like 10 seconds left in the show. This is over. It's like there's no real mystery. There's no real drama to it.
Right.
because you're waiting for the count, and you know the TV show is going to end any minute, like now, like it's like what it should be going off the air now. Like, why isn't it over? So you know that there's absolutely nothing else is going to happen here.
Kofi's going to WrestleMania.
So in the back, so Kofi wins. They announce he wins. Yeah, yay! Everybody starts running out. They cut to the back, and lady in the back, whose name I don't know, runs up to Vince McMahon. He's getting in the limo. They go, New Day has won their match. Is Kofi going to WrestleMania? And Vince goes, the crowd is freaking out, loud, screaming, going absolutely nuts. And Vince decides now's the time. He's just going to cut a promo in his normal old man gravelly voice. B+ player. So I rewound. I turned on captions. What the hell is he saying? He's saying, yes, Kofi Kingston will now face Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. But the question is, can a B+ player really defeat Daniel Bryan? And he gets in the limo and drives off. And it cuts back to the ring, and everybody's surrounding the ring, and they're all celebrating.
Can a B+ player defeat another B+ player? Because that's what they called Daniel Bryan all that time at WrestleMania.
And above average Mike Sanders is nowhere to be found.
Yeah. Probably for the best on that one.
I don't know. But anyway, I did notice when they sent all the faces down to the ring, there was no Asuka. So I don't know if that symbolizes something. If she's going to get
released, she quit.
Yeah, I don't know if she's going to be, pissed off and start to turn heel at some way in the future, or what the deal is. Or
I mean,
and they sent out. Well, and they also sent out. I noticed a couple random people. Like, I didn't recognize them. They looked like backstage crew. There was just like some lady in a white button-up shirt. And
I don't know. I didn't pay enough attention.
And they weren't wrestlers. They didn't look like talent. They were just like people. So I guess they were trying to do the whole Daniel Bryan, Man of the Common People, celebration when he was doing that whole thing.
Yeah.
Like now they're trying to transfer that to Kofi, so they just sent out.
Sure.
I guess.
Kofi's going to Mania. I'm actually excited about their match, and
I'm glad they're doing it. But at the same time, it's like
I hate how we got here.
I knew they were doing that since Fastlane.
Yeah, I hate just what they did to get it to this point. They just dragged it out. But as long as the crowd is eating it up and it's getting over to them, honestly, that's the important thing. Because it does. If the crowd's really into something, it kind of adds another element to the match or the promos or whatever's happening. Like if the crowd's into it, then it affects me in that way. If they're all sitting on their hands, I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah. Well, and also, apparently the ratings for Raw are way down. They were still way down again. Compared to last year, it was like a 12% drop or something. It was like a significant drop. Ratings on Smackdown were actually up. So more people are choosing to go watch Smackdown as they are choosing not to watch Raw.
Yeah. Better roster, better matches, better storylines.
Better pizza, Papa John's.
Yeah, I think Shaq he owns some of Papa John's now.
Oh, does he? Good for him.
Let's see how that goes.
He also sells the General car insurance.
Yeah. Go home shows next week.
Finally. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
although
we're almost there.
All right. So we have to do next week's show. I assume we're doing the show after WrestleMania and the fallout on Raw and SmackDown.
Yes.
Which is gonna kill me, but we'll do it. After that, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't either. And
I cannot do a weekly show watching 5 hours of WWE.
I'm thinking either do a show like after pay-per-views and just recapping the pay-per-view and the Raw and SmackDown and kind of talking about how we got here, just whatever. We don't have to like go into huge detail, but just sort of
cover the matches at the pay-per-view, how they got to the matches, and then what the fallout was.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I don't know, man. We'll see how we feel.
I know how I feel right now, and how I feel is my glass of happy is the only thing keeping me going at this point. So anyway, all right, guys, that's going to do it. Don't forget, you can always call our 24-hour voicemail line. I don't think I've plugged that since like the first episode, maybe.
Yeah.
We do have a voicemail box. If you call area code 217-953-4025, it will go to our Skype voicemail mailbox. You can leave a message. We can listen to it. Maybe we can even play them back on a show if it's something exciting or important. But if you've got Skype, you can search for me, Dirt. I think username is Dirt Mound, or look up Pop Culture Network. You can find it through Skype if you want to do it that way. Or if you've got domestic wireless in the United States, everybody gets free long distance. So it's area code 217-953-4025. You can leave a voicemail. Or Twitter or Facebook, or come to popculturenetwork.com, lockerroomhq.com. You can go to bit.ly/TC podcast. TCP are all capitalized, TC podcast, and leave comments on the page or under the videos. Pop Culture Network YouTube page, my personal YouTube page, Podbean, iTunes, Russian podcast servers, whatever. We're all over the place. You can find us.
1-900-909-9900.
Was that the Mean Gene Okerlund tip line?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. All right, guys. So that's going to do it for me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pants off, dance off. Beefcake sucks. No Hall of Fame, please. No Hall of Fame.